Greg's all Benny Reese West. Very special episode this week. I've got the Red Devil himself, Chris, in the house, and we are going to talk to you today a little bit about the uranium space, as we do. So welcome, Chris. Thanks very much for coming on, brother.
Ben, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. TGIF down here in
Yeah.
Australia, of course, but for our
I'll be golfing
friends.
tomorrow.
Yep. It's already tomorrow. Yeah, it's good, mate. Friday's a good day, so look forward to
That's
it.
true.
So anyway, mate, let's just jump into some charts here. So we're just going to start off here by taking a look at URA. So, mate, I'm just looking at this. It's still for me pretty range bound, right? It's still not going anywhere. You know, we have still been stuck in this range for quite some time. What are you seeing with this one?
I'm kind of seeing fairly much the same deal, but there's some signs, in my opinion, that the space might possibly be starting to catch a bid. But like what I'm really watching for now is, and you're going to see this across the space. We need to take out. You remember that spike that happened like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah,
The
definitely.
big fake out. You can see I circled it there.
Yeah, that one there, right? Yeah.
We gotta take that out. And most of the names in the space have a similar look to them. If you pulled up any chart, especially on larger exchange trade stuff, you're gonna see that a spike of that nature. So, like, to me, that's the spot, right? I want to see it get up and through there, because it changes things, right? So it's the resistance that it's been kind of rejecting there. So that's what I'm looking at right now, as far as it's concerned.
Yeah, I agree. That key level there. I mean, you've 29.43. I think if we got in a bit tighter on that, that's a maybe slightly higher. But of course, then it also ties into those little tops we've got just back there. But this whole area is obviously crucial. But look, I agree, because I think when we go down a little bit, like just coming down here onto an alley, you can just see the trend starting to take hold, right? I mean, it's just starting to make a series of higher lows as we start to push on. So I would think next week, to me, it looks like we're ready to at least again challenge this level, and hopefully, or what I would like to see is it get through, probably retest it and hold, and then go on, because that to me would then suggest that trend can then just keep going on. And then for me, it's then about coming back and looking again towards those big tops. So that's kind of how I see it. What do you think, brother? Is that kind of what you're seeing too?
I've said this a lot over the years of whatever work I've done, and I've always said the hourly chart is like the backbone of the trade, right? So when you start to see the hourly chart turn and make some moves, that becomes your backbone, right? So, people always say, oh, you can't catch bottoms, you can't catch tops. Well, the hourly is where you might not catch the immediate bottom, but you're going to be close enough. So, like, I watch hourly charts like a hawk, and some people make fun of me because, you don't have a life or whatever. Yeah, but, I'm looking to capitalize on my trading. And I know that the hourly chart is the spot. So as long as the hourly continues this trend like you've got going on here, then, like, for me, I start looking at like the 4-hour chart. That would be my next move,
Yeah.
But it all starts with the hourly, and that's where I want to see it happen. But again, in my opinion, that daily spike is really going to be the spot where I would assume there's going to be some action there, and hopefully it pops through and then comes back and retests. Because that's a good buy signal for longer term thinking people who aren't trading, on a weekly or a daily basis.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just such an obvious point. It's going to attract the market and price action when it gets there. So, I wouldn't be surprised if it sort of even does that and then comes back just to flush the people out who tried to buy the breakout and then start to go and do something like that. Like that's just the kind of thing you'd see all the time. But it's going to be volatile around this level in the short term because it's clear as day what's going on there, right?
Yeah, and you've got a lot of, there's action there, right? So it's a previous rejection level, previous support. So that's the spots that you have.
Yeah, I agree. So let's
we got to keep an eye on that. It's absolutely.
I agree. Let's jump over to URNM and see what we can see there, because I think we'll get probably a similar look. But let's have a look.
Yeah, it's going to look exactly the same.
Yeah, this one. Oh, sorry, might have lost my camera. I'm having a few issues, but I'll keep on talking. But this one, yeah, it's kind of we've got that big spike, the same thing, right? But once again, for me, it's just we're just kind of trapped in this. I'm back. We're kind of just trapped in this sort of broad range, but the same thing. I think the same things. You can see it here. It's a little bit. That's forming up pretty well, even though it's starting to dribble a little bit here just today. But you probably got to take today with a bit of a grain of salt, right? Because it's sort of coming into a holiday. But look,
yeah, after the first 2 hours. After the first 2 hours, it was over.
Yeah, but you can see the same things applying here. Like it's trying to push on, right?
It's looking that way. I'm kind of the opinion that there's a chance of a change in the works here, but it's still, no matter what, it's all about those spike highs. And URNJ, interestingly enough, URNJ has been leading these moves, right? So it was the first to reject from that spike high, and it was the first to set its daily high or low. And it did it like either yesterday or the day before. I posted about it on Twitter. And let's see what happens there, because if URNJ continues with its behavior as being a little bit of the de facto leader right now, that's just going to be the first one to take out that spike high. So I'm watching URNJ more than anything right now.
Well, let's go and have a look at
short term.
Let's go and have a look at URNJ, okay? Because this one's got a little bit more, like you said, it just looks a little bit more construct. I mean, it kind of looks the same, but the fact that I think the fact that we've got up here and already tested where that spike level was, we had a little test up here. We're just closer to the edge. We're closer to what I would think is the breakout. This looks pretty constructive to me.
And look, what you just drew, by the way, the way you have those trend lines, that's an hourly rising wedge. So, and I've been talking about this for a while. We have mixed signals in the space, right? So, rising wedges, they can be it's a bearish pattern. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen, but it's something to keep an eye on. It's just that simple.
I think usually when I see that, it means something is going to happen. We just don't know if it's going to be up or down. But to me, whenever I see that sort of thing, like you said, like that sort of wedging in pattern, it just means that something's coming to a climax. One way or the other, one side's going to start winning the war, and the other side's going to break. So, obviously we hope that the buyers win and it breaks. But of course, the problem will become for me, and hopefully you probably see the same thing, that we can't get through. All of a sudden we're Gonski, you know what I mean? So that
could easily be the case. And sentiment in the space is horrendous.
It's not good. I think I've stated it before, that there's just lots of other things out there that are moving that would be probably depriving the market of a lot of tourist money that might drive it, further. So there might be a lot of capital, chasing other things that are moving a lot more than what uranium stocks are. Because to me, I'd imagine there's going to be a lot of tourist money in the market. There's going to be a lot of speculative money that goes, oh, this is moving. When we're in 2023 and it was just trending so well, this is going to draw in a lot of sort of speculative money to drive it further. But now that that's kind of over, it's just sucking the oxygen out, I think, just to a degree. Would you say that you've seen that?
Just real quick,
Yeah,
pull up the monthly on URA.
the monthly URA. Let's have a look.
Yeah, monthly chart.
Here we are.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, you got to think long term. We'll keep trending up. I mean, this is kind of busted, but like I said, I'm just wondering if it's going to be more like that. But coming into next year, we're higher as well. So I made the point that just because this trend has failed, it's just like the same thing as when this sort of trend failed and we corrected. I don't think we're going to get something as broad as this, but it's not impossible. But this trend failed, we corrected. This trend failed, we corrected. But there's no reason to think it's not going to keep going. It's just going to go through a period of time where it's going to consolidate, and that's just how I would read it.
Well, the thing is that what's good about it is that it's holding, right?
Yeah.
This is holding.
Yeah.
So it's become a key metric, right? And we know that we have this.
Yeah, because this looks good, right? All this stuff down here, it's just
it's holding.
Mm-hmm.
So as bad as we all might think it is, maybe it's just not as bad as we think. I mean, I don't think it's bad, but I just know that there's people in the space that do. But when in doubt, zoom out, right? So the health of the monthly charts basically in the space in general is fantastic. So let's just kind of keep that in mind. We're zooming in right now because we want to try to catch a turn.
Yeah,
I mean that's what I want to do.
I think the only thing I've just trying to be saying to people is just be aware that we could just do this for a bit longer. It just feels like we may not go anywhere for a while we just, it's like I said, when a python eats a deer, it takes a while to digest it. And it just feels like, the python's eating a big deer and it's just going to take a little while for this rally to just be digested by the market before we can just kick on again. So it's not doom and gloom. It's doom and gloom if you're planning on cashing out next week. But, like the reality is that you're just going to have to let a little bit more time go by. And then I feel pretty confident that the overall trend will reestablish itself. And when we look back, all we've really got is, an ongoing trend higher. I mean, I think that's just what's going on. But, we live in a instantaneous society where we want it all now. But I think this is just going to take a bit of time.
So I live in the suburbs of New York City. There's no pythons eating deers over here, buddy.
Well, we don't have any deers here, mate. The pythons just eat people. But apart from that, it's safe.
What do you think about NextGen, dude? You want to look at that?
Yeah, I think we should. So NextGen's an interesting one, right? I mean, this one just it looks stronger, and I know that you wanted to talk a little bit more about this because you've got your finger on the pulse a little bit more with this one. So what are you seeing here? What are your thoughts? Like what's going on? Actually, before we do that, there is something I did want to do because I know that you like those moving averages, and I want to set them up on my screen too. So can you quickly tell me and for the viewers what your moving average riders are, because I want to set them up.
Well, I use the exponential moving averages. If you're on the simple, we'll stay with the simple because I use the 50 and the 200.
Okay, so
on the simple.
Okay, so you can use the 50 and the 200 on simple.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about closer in?
So the exponentials, I'll use the 12, the 26.
Yep.
The 5.
I'll have to add that in myself.
Believe it or not.
Yeah. No, I believe it. Okay.
Because I'm a trader.
Yeah.
And I'll use the 50 exponential also. So now, but here's what I do. The 50 simple, I keep that on the daily. So no matter what chart I'm on, it always shows up as the 50-day moving average. You know how, like, if you change over to a weekly chart, your exponential, your moving averages will work off the weekly.
Yeah.
but they won't with my 50-day moving average. It's always
Yep.
the 50-day moving average, and it's
Yep.
always the 200-day moving average.
Okay. Good.
So on the chart settings, yeah, I think you know how to do that, right?
God, this is just a little. I've got to clean this
Okay.
up. This is just a little something I wrote years ago, just to make it a bit easier on myself. But I just wanted to set that up, so I've still got to add in a few more. But nonetheless, let's get back into it. Right, NXE, like, talk to me about it. What do you see? What do you think? What's the go?
Well, it's just it's a moving average rider. It still is. Like that's my metric for holding the trend, you know? So if you go to the weekly, it's still holding the 12 EMA on the weekly, and it's still holding the 50-day moving average. So it's, in my opinion, it's still holding trend. And you don't even need to use the moving average. Just look at that trend. It had an undercut here. This is your undercut, right?
Yep.
That's it. It's still holding the trend.
More or
So
less. Yep.
as crazy as it sounds, NextGen is still one of the stronger ones in the space. And you'll see these fundamental guys talk about like the CEOs and the lifestyle company and the spending. It doesn't matter. The thing keeps hitting all-time highs, you know? And it's gunning for it again. It's gunning for another all-time high hit right now. So, you know, anybody can do whatever they want as far as the fundamentals are concerned. But, you know, listen, they've got one of the best deposits in the world, right? They just have to actually start digging it up and monetizing it and getting the mine going. And it could be a very long time, obviously, right? Fundamental guys are going to know a lot more about that than me. But, you know, price action says that NXE is without a doubt one of the best places to be in the space. You know, it's just that simple.
It's a super strong chart in relation to, you know, what we've seen with everything else. Like you said, I mean, that little undercut there, that didn't really, that's not really what I would think is a definitive trendline break. Like we've seen in the other names. I mean, this is more or less, I mean, maybe you can even do that, but I tend to think you could just stick with that, because it's just, in terms of a line of best fit, you know, the trend is intact. So, you know, even though I've just drawn this little trend channel in here just as a bit of a reference guide, it's not very, the way this is going, it's a chipping apart to all-time highs again, and you know, this just gets eradicated, and we're just back on, baby. This one keeps going. Its correction has been very small, so it is interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree with what you say.
It's obvious, like, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, price is king at the end of the day. You know, so the fundamentals can go out the window. You say the fundamentals are saying that it's bad, or it's a bad company. It's an all-time high. So be it right or wrong. If you disagree with that, then go and short it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, one thing I've learned is I'm very judicious about when I short the space. I mean, and I usually do it just for hedging, but
yeah, personally,
whatever.
Personally, based on big charts, I wouldn't short this space. I don't think there's a lot of upside to shorting it. You're either long, you're square, or you're getting longer. That'd be the only ways I look at it.
In my opinion, the way to short it is just get out of position, sell position into strength, and then hope for some sort of pullback, which no matter what it comes, right? We all know that. But, you know, just as far as the moving average riders, you know, you can see it. Like if you didn't even have your trend line there, like there's something that says you don't even need it, right? Because it's just holding those. And the thing is, and this is why, I've had this conversation before with other people, it's just like, you know, trend lines can be arbitrary, right? So it depends on the guy or the person who draws it. You know, the moving averages, they're mathematical. You know, they're it's solid, right? So, I mean, it's a good gauge for the space. But NextGen is absolutely it's held up better during this small little drawdown we've had in the space.
Yeah. And
it's continuing to show some strength now, you know? So, you know, NextGen, if you zoom into the daily, are you on the daily yet?
Yeah.
So it's double topping right now, but it's testing its first resistance. And a lot of the and it's right here, right? So it's testing this stuff.
Yeah.
So and other names in the space aren't there yet. So, you know, the URNJ is kind of leading the ETFs a bit, and NextGen is leading the bigger names. I mean, that's the way I'm looking at it. So the signals, if someone wants to buy URA or go long on URNM, watch what URNJ is doing, because that's what's going to be. And if you want to be in UEC, watch what NextGen is doing.
Yeah.
NextGen is leading. NextGen is the strongest in the space right now. It doesn't mean it's
yeah, go on.
It doesn't mean it's the best name in the space, but price action wise, it is. And that's kind of the way I'm looking at it.
And that's the other thing I'm just seeing as we're chatting, right? You can just see this little wedge building on it too, like friction. There's a disagreement going on within an ever tightening range, so someone's going to break before too long. I mean, that's
so
just the way I look at it.
It's basically in markets in general. It doesn't even have to be uranium. So when you get periods of movement and big volatility, there comes a period of an equilibrium. So you'll see it across the space. It's how it works. And then the equilibrium will break at some point. Odds are the equilibrium breaks to the bull side in the uranium space, because you can look at the charts on any time frame and you can say, and it's bullish, right? So this is how markets work, regardless of how anybody wants to really view them some way differently. It's how they work. It's how asset classes work, and it's not even just equities. It can be just a whole bunch of other things. So just don't forget about that.
No.
Once there's a period of volatility, there will be a period of equilibrium.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. In Australia, we call it the crocodile digesting the German tourists that got too close to the water.
There you go.
And off we go. I mean, that's just that. You're right. That's just a very common standard trading 101 thing. You'll get a big move and then a period of digestion while the market decides if it's going to extend that move or if it's going to reverse.
And the thing is, Ben, draw that path you just drew again, because that is textbook. Like, if you look, there it is. If you look in textbooks, on technical analysis textbooks, this is exactly what they show you, right? But the thing is, it could break that way too, right? We know that.
Oh yeah.
But this is exactly what they show you. This is exactly what we're looking at, right? And the longer it sits there, the better off it is as far as the power of the move, as long as it goes in the direction you want it to. So, I mean, just be aware of that. Not you, obviously, to our viewer. This is normal stuff that's going on in space. And you're right. There's a lot of shiny objects out there. Bitcoin is ripping. Cannabis is picking up.
Yep.
The semiconductors are just on fire. I mean,
gold's at all-time highs, right? Like, there's tons of stuff
gold,
to jump into at the moment.
Gold is I don't really mess with the precious metals that much because they're just painful. But these semiconductors, why am I gonna sit in uranium for years while I can just be playing the semiconductor space? There's plenty of people that are thinking along those lines. Just because there's people who are investors, it's fine. But just don't forget what it is. People are going to chase money no matter what, and they're going to chase it wherever it is. There will be a time when people are going to chase uranium, especially if it makes some sort of big breakout move. So, we start taking out the November 2021 highs, which we just missed this last time around. You're going to see money start coming into the space,
Oh, for sure. It'll go on the radar. There's no question about that. So, that's what we're waiting for. But as we've said, it just might take a bit of time, and it might take a bit more pain before we've done enough to have digested the rally before we go on for the next leg. That's just how it works. So
it's how it works. So keep an eye on URNJ, keep an eye on NXC, and interestingly enough, right? So NextGen is one of the top holdings in URNJ. So you see them both. You see them both with strength. It's great. It bodes well for being confident and maybe picking up some laggard plays, right? So
Sure.
that's what we need to see. And those spike highs that we had like a week and a half ago, whatever, they've got to get taken out with follow through. I mean, it's just that simple. Otherwise, we're just going to continue in chopping mode.
That's right. That's right. So that is what we're going to be on the lookout for next week. So look, man, this has been unreal. I've really enjoyed chatting to you about the markets, and look, for everyone out there who's been watching, I really hope that you got something out of this. And if you want to see Chris and I do some more stuff together, let us know. All right, I'll link to Chris's channel in the description for the video as well. So go on ahead and check his work out too. But look, hopefully we can get together and keep doing this, brother, because I think this is this feels good. I hope that people have really enjoyed sort of looking at our slightly contrasting methods and getting something out of it.
Yeah. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about cannabis in the next couple episodes or sometime in the future, right? So
definitely, I think it looks. I've just started covering it. I think it's a space that's got a lot of interest and it's something to keep an eye on. So some explosive moves very possible in the cannabis sector. So look, guys, that's it for this week. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you hopefully in the next video. So bye for
over and out.
now.